to nurturing our nature. I'm here with Daniel. I myself, Renee. We're going to focus on the wonderful topic of self improvement through biology, psychology, and philosophy. Springer's fantastic textbook, The Psychology of Habits, has guided us so far in this season, and we were able to learn quite a bit. And I honestly now have too much self awareness when it comes to habits, and I now question everything I do.
Yep, rightfully so.
And today we're actually going to be talking about something pretty relatable, which is physical activity, working out, gym, and how habits play a role in that, which is, I feel like, marketed all the time. I mean, think about how many apps and personal trainers are out there, how many programs that have been marketed towards giving people a shortcut to getting fit when really it's just understanding your tendencies when it comes to habits. Now, it's a bit controversial though, because what we've learned so far with habits is how they happen seemingly unconsciously, without much intention, and to imply that working out as a habit would also be implying that you somehow black out for 30 minutes when you go to the gym, when gym is your habit, which is not true, correct? Like,
Right.
we can't, that's why it's kind of controversial to say that working out is a habit, because habits happen without conscious effort. They've just been so programmed, they're just happening without your input, just
Uh,
automatic.
It feels more to me like it's like the unconscious moments leading up to like all of the rituals that you have built up around the context that you've set. So it's all of the unconscious moments leading up to like the actual moment when you reach the gym. So I think once you're actually in the gym and you actually start doing the exercise, I think that's when you can actually, and I do this too, like you mentally think about how much effort you're about to dedicate to the different lifts you're about to do, or like to how much effort you're about to put into whatever cardiovascular training you're doing, because like you can modulate that as you're exercising. It's not like you enter into the gym and just because it's become a habit to you, like like you said, you black out and you just go from point A to point B. You execute like an algorithm, like execute function A. Like that's not how it works. It's like, nah, man, you actually, once you reach the gym, like that's the habit part, is getting you actually into the gym, getting you into the actual um area where you can actually complete the habit. So it's like the unconscious portion to me, as far as I've seen, like with habit formation, specifically with regards to going to the gym, that's like, okay, you drink your pre-workout, you listen to the freaking, like for me in my case, it's the heavy music, and like I'm ready to go, I'm amped up. Like that to me is like all the unconscious moments. I do all these things and then I get to the gym, and then the second I get there, like, okay, I'm here. But like how much energy do I have? How much ability do I have to actually like push these weights hard today? And that part we can get into a little bit more, which is like, how can I keep myself engaged in the habit? And I'm not sure, like, obviously you're going to take point on this chapter, but like I can speak to like personal experience. And in order for me to stay at a high level of engagement in the current task that I'm doing, I actually have this notebook that I use, and I'm recording the reps that I'm doing. I'm recording the amount of perceived effort. So it becomes a more mindful task, and it actually keeps me engaged in what I'm doing. It's more mindful as I'm exercising. So like just by me taking notes, it's almost like it becomes less mindless. It's less of a, I guess, habit, but at the same time, it makes me engage with that habit more in a conscious way.
You know, it's funny. The way you explain it, it almost makes it sound like you have such a flow state because you've been doing gym workouts for, I want to say, probably at least half your life. Is that accurate?
Yeah, man, maybe even a little bit more. Like, you remember when I told you the story, like when I was like it's like when I was 10 years old, man. I wanted to have
Yeah.
like nice arms for the girls because I was like 10 years old in middle school. Like I was like, oh, there's some cute girls in my class. Like I wanna be strong, like that sort of thing. And that's when it started, but it's obviously progressed since then.
That's incredible. I mean, most people would love. I mean, personally, I've done a lot of cardio ever since I was a kid, and that's for me pretty habitual, I suppose. Like you talked about before, putting your shoes on, going for a
Right.
run, and you just do it. You get in your flow, and you don't really think about it too much. At this point, even if I'm changing routes, the actual act of breathing and running is pretty automatic.
Hmm.
You could reach that runner's high, which essentially is a form of a habitual flow state that you just tune into. And it's interesting
Oh,
that you have that.
physiology. You want to hear some physiology real quick?
Yeah, hit me with it.
I'll speculate it in there. So
Speckle.
it takes
Okay.
for you to get the runner's high. It takes 20 minutes of like 70 to like 85% of maximum heart rate for you to like kick on your endogenous opioid system. So if you
Mm,
actually want to experience the runner's high, 75 to 85% of maximum heart rate for 20 minutes, like I would say you
tune
can keep
in.
around 75. And then
Mhm.
like you're gonna start to feel like you're gonna start to feel pretty good.
Mm,
Yeah.
yeah.
Ooh.
It really, hey, you hit that note pretty good. Yeah, it's pretty crazy. How incredible that can feel. And to a lot of people, that sounds kind of crazy. Like, what do you mean you feel good running? Like, ugh, cardio. But I feel, the same way towards what you're saying with working out and going to the gym. And it's interesting that you use your notebook at the gym to kind of bring yourself to a mindfulness place and be present. But I would argue that you're present all the time, even if you're habitual with your gym tendencies, whether it be your preparation, the actual exercise, your workout plan per se, and your follow up after the gym. You might have very strong habits, judging by you doing it for at least half your life now.
Right.
But I guarantee you, there's no time that you're in the gym that you are unconscious.
It, yeah, to an
Right.
extent. I feel like you have to be. It's one of those environments where you do kind of have to be mindful because you're gonna get hurt if you're like
You're like,
lifting
to an
weight.
extent. You just
Yeah, I mean, you kind of yeah, you kind of you have no choice. When I do say like when you do become mindful and when you are like I would
Mhm.
say even more conscious in the gym, like even more aware of what you're doing. That's when you're like that's why I have this journal is so that I don't settle into a plateau of effort. Like
Mhm.
I can record the amount of weight that I'm pushing each week. And I know that like, 2 weeks from now, I'd like to increase my weight by 5 pounds on let's say the bench press, for example.
Yeah,
And
stops you
like
from getting too comfortable and just
exactly. It
stagnating there.
it keeps me mindful on the amount of effort that I'm putting in. So having something like
That's a
that
good way to
is
put it.
it's super key.
Yeah.
So you don't, you know, plateau out.
Yeah. Yeah. And in the reading, there was a section here. I'd like to quote it. It says, "The probability of someone having intense experiences of affective and physiological activation from a stimulus, aka working out,
Mhm.
like vigorous intensity physical activity, and simultaneously not having a conscious experience is pretty low." In other words, it's pretty low for you to be extremely into your workout, having an intense physical activity, and for you to not to be conscious of it, or for you not to be like present.
Right.
If anything, the runner's high and like you said, your flow state at the gym, I would say that that's not unconscious by any means. If anything, it's like you are so into that moment, that flow, that it's just you're just one with it. And that it frees your mind, like you were saying, to be able to think about other stuff and to be able to even be comfortable in that state. But you're still very present, whether it be on something as simple as your breath or for you, the muscle tissues that you're using to complete the workout, you know?
And
Which
even on that, I feel like workouts are so effective for I would say disrupting your default mode network.
wake up.
Because yeah, exactly. Let's say that you're just having the shittiest of days, man. Like you woke up and You didn't sleep great. You were driving to work. Somebody cut you off. You
Your
spilled a
tire
drink.
popped.
Your tire popped. Oh,
Jeez.
classic.
Right?
Dude, it doesn't even, I cracked up. Like literally as it was happening when I was on the phone with you, I laughed because I'm like as my car was skidding, I could feel my back tires
By the way,
skidding as I
you
was pulling
handled
up.
that very well.
Oh, it's
Because
hilarious
like
by this
the
point.
tire exploded and you just like, oh well, onto the median I go.
It's
Here we
so
go.
dude, it's so funny. I've done it so many times. It's like a pilot
But good for
training for
you
crash landing.
for being safe about it.
Oh yeah,
Because
good time.
especially, that could be very dangerous on a highway or something, turnpike. But
Right. But back to the point.
but back to the point here.
So
So
you're
we
just
were
having a
talking about
poopy day, and it just like the gym has the opportunity to disrupt like whatever default mode network you're in. Like if you're just giving yourself a bad mental narrative for the day, and you know how it is, man, when it starts to like build in your brain,
sure.
and you start to deem this day that I'm having right now as a bad
A poopy day.
a poopy day. Like the gym, I mean, we can get into the neurochemistry. That's a whole nother episode, but like its capability psychologically speaking to just get you, it's funny, it can get you more into your mind in some ways, and in other ways it can get you out of your mind and more focused on something more tactile, like your musculature, your what you're feeling, which is really cool.
I mean, I would argue the most relevant part about it is that you gotta actually change something in your environment. In your case, it's moving a weight from point A to point B. Like no matter how in your mind you are, if you're trying to do this movement safely and efficiently, you have to be like present enough to focus on those muscle fibers and actually get that bar up. And then
Right.
for a runner, it's moving your body, through space and time. But don't get me on that.
Space and time. It was colliding of worlds.
Colliding of worlds. So in the book, it talks about this contradiction, right, between being conscious, as we were talking about in the workouts, being super present, and then having habits that are unconscious and like low effort. How could a workout? How could anyone ever say it's a good habit? How could anyone ever equate it to a habit to begin with? But I think it's interesting that you mentioned, which is very true and supported by the research, that it's more about the sub actions that can become habitual. It's almost like a little pyramid that you build yourself. If you imagine like a triangle, right? This little point here is the first step. And then this is time, moving this way. And then this is the behaviors that you continue to do. And then eventually you build into that complex behavior, right? Or I'll get into it more later, but there is, like you said, many aspects of a workout routine that can be broken up into sub actions, which can easily become habits, whether it be preparation habits throughout the workout, or habits at the end of the workout. And the amount of importance that we need to be giving these things are crucial to be able to actually determine your efficiency and your ability to maintain the motivation to complete these behaviors over and over again.
Right.
I'm not telling you, oh, you want to do cardio, you got to put your shoes on at the same time every day, and you got to run the same path every day. But from the research, if you did that, you probably would build the habit faster than if you didn't do that. If you did it different times a day and took different paths every time, the more you could do to train your mind into kind of having cues that lead you toward that behavior, the better. So I want to go ahead and break down the cons and the pros to the perspectives that research has shown towards this being a habit versus not, right? Working out, it takes a lot of time, right? And habits are supposed to be effortless or low effort, they're uncontrollable, very minimal deliberation. And as we mentioned, working out takes your body out of a resting state. It's not in a complacent, stagnant mode. You have to be putting your body through stress. Again, that's not very pleasing to your mind when it wants to think of forming a habit for that thing. It's like, I would rather not repeat this again. Thanks a lot, And there's a series of behaviors, like we mentioned already a few times. So those things kind of fight the idea of working out becoming a habit. However, as we mentioned with the running example, it's a repeated behavior. You can have the same context and you can have habits that predict or that lead you to doing that behavior. So if you use those pros to outweigh the cons of working out and how your body's going to want to fight the urge to work out or fight the intention to work out, it's really about giving yourself the cues so that it just becomes a habit. The cues that lead you to the workout become a habit. No one here is claiming that the workout itself is going to be habitual, but you could work on the cues that lead you there. And then if you want to really be Pavlov's dog, you could work on the cues that complement the reward at the end of the workout. And all that is just going to reinforce your brain into wanting to do it. As soon as you see the cue, it's ready. It's going for it.
Right. And I mean, I think that also ties into the whole like context dependence of habits. And so, like we discussed before, like that first 90 days, it is crucial that you set yourself up for success with development of that habit by making sure that the environment that you're in allows you some degree of consistency as you like try to develop a lifestyle change, a habit change in your life. Those first 90 days, if you can find yourself in a consistent environment where, yes, if you really are trying to have those cues in place, it's also very beneficial to have like an environment, a context that is going to allow you to have those cues in place. So you wake up, you have the context. Let's say you wake up 7 a.m. to go for your run. Then you turn to your right. What do you have? A cue. Your shoes are right there. What else do you have? Guess what? Your socks are right on top. You got your little freaking, some people ride with that Camelback on, man. If you're going one of those like 5 mile long distance runs, get that bad boy on. You got all these different things that are just right there telling you it's time to go. Put those on, dude. You're boom. You're out.
Yeah, you've done everything that you need to, and by the time you're wearing all this get up, your brain's like, I gotta run now.
Yeah.
I started running.
Exactly.
You just Forrest Gump it, dude. Put your New Balance shoes on and go.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, man, hey, I think that's exactly true, and I think it's interesting that you mentioned this habit as a morning routine, which is arguably probably one of the hardest times to tell your body to go up and run. What do you think is in the realm of possibilities for morning routines? Because most people, their morning routine is just wake up, wash your face, brush your teeth, drink some coffee. And that one they could do every day, all day. Even if they're not going to work, they're like, gotta make some coffee.
Right. I mean,
You know?
a predictor of, so mornings are uncomfortable. A predictor of somebody maintaining a habit, even if it requires them to wake up early, like to push into that zone of discomfort of doing something early, is that person setting the intention that the long-term thing that they're going to do is more rewarding than sleeping in. So that's like, it's called resilience. So like the habit itself is resilient because you see the habit as more valuable than the current experience of sleeping in bed and pressing snooze 5 more times.
Mhm.
Like it's, that has to happen probably one of the days where you do sleep in, and then you journal about it like one weekend, and you're like, the next opportunity I get to wake up early, maybe I'm going to value waking up early so I can actually push into this habit and increase the distance I'm able to run, or improve my appearance, or improve my cardiovascular endurance. And there's a lot of good reasons for it. Like you want to live a long life, you want to be healthy, you want to improve your overall quality of life. There's tons of great reasons, and all you have to do is look up a little bit of research on it. And like, it's just a matter of like, can you make the habit valuable for you so that it becomes resilient? That's the word. Can it become a resilient habit for you that resists other small short-term temptations?
I love that you were saying resilient, and the book even talks about how intention habits are almost like blinders that you can put yourself to give yourself tunnel vision towards that goal.
Mhm.
And it gives you the energy to move forward and to execute that action versus doing alternative actions that might be counterintuitive to the goal that you're trying to achieve.
Right.
So I think it's fantastic you mentioned that. It's so true. The way I see it is the instigation habit is almost like a rock that you throw into a pond. And the ripples, the little small ripples, they begin small, are all the sub actions that you do. And then the big picture of this like array of waves coming out from the rock
It's
is
the
is
lake.
the complex behavior that you're able to do.
Right.
But it all starts with you being able to chuck that rock exactly where you want it to go, and having that goal to do so. And it's interesting because the intention itself is associated to behavior. But what you mentioned before about journaling and all that, that's fantastic because they found in using goals, using self-regulation and monitoring techniques, you're able to reliably change your physical activity, which is exactly what you do. You don't stagnate. You don't become too comfortable with your workout routine. And the reason why isn't because your body just ache for more weight. It's because you give yourself the tools to monitor yourself and to look back and to compare your present self with your past self and decide what you're going to do today in order to change your future goals. And they just continue to stack on one another. That's incredible.
Dude.
And it sounds so cliche. It's like, dude, you want to get good at something? Just journal it. Just make a goal.
No, that's what you're describing is, I mean, that's what we discussed in, I think it was the last episode. That's the mental contrasting psychological intervention, which basically that's one of those research backed like interventions that psychologists will use to encourage the individual to look at the context that led to the behavior. And then you look at what you've done in the past, you look at where you are now, and then you look at where you want to be. And like, it can be done like, and there's two modes. Like you can do it with the psychologist, you can like talk out loud with like a close friend, but the best seems to be when you have to sit down and actually journal it out. And it's like, yeah, just journal it. But like, dude, it's been proven to be effective. Like it's a lot of people have some good success with it. And yeah, it might sound silly, but when you actually have to slow yourself down and pick up an archaic pen and put it to archaic paper. Like,
you don't use a quill?
Oh,
dude, yeah, I'm still using the quill, bro. I got a little feather.
I was using a quill, but I ran out of ink, so I'm waiting for. I ran out of shillings to pay for the ink, so
I actually almost bought a quill the other day. I was like in a tourist shop. I swear.
That's kind of cool.
Like, yeah, and they had some for sale, and I was like, "Oh, dude, that's kind of." I was like, "Renee, you really get a write with a pen." I've got so many pens on my desk right now because I love pens. I couldn't imagine myself just like grabbing a quill. Just
I like clicking pens, man. I'm not gonna lie.
The little clicky clicks.
Yeah,
the pens that mess me up the most are the ones that you have to like twist. Because you have to use like two hands to like.
Oh yeah.
I'm like, bro, just give me the one-hander, bro.
Yeah.
I don't want to dual wield my pen.
Nah.
Actually, I do want to dual wield my pen. Two-wheel.
Whoa, bro. Take it easy.
You got the two-handed pen, the one-handed pen.
Take it easy. Do more damage.
Yeah, dude. I like that agility. I've always been like the dual wielding class over like the two-hander sword. Yeah, two-hander sword is too slow, bro. It's just you miss one swing and it's like you're open.
You get smacked.
You're open. Right. That's the quill. The quill is the heavy hitting sword.
Facts.
What were we talking about? Journaling.
Yeah,
journaling cool again, bro.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's something that I every time I've incorporated journaling into my habits, I've found myself to be the better version of myself consistently,
Mhm.
without a doubt. And if I ever found myself in a muck, if I ever found myself in a sludgy state of mind, unproductive, lethargic, lazy, guaranteed you I'm not journaling. Guaranteed. It's like I haven't touched my journal or I haven't touched a notepad in months. I get to that state of like,
Yeah.
you
And
know?
it's interesting because it's like that's one of those things that could bring you out of the muck and mire, but something something brought you to that point in your life where you're like you've fallen off your self-improvement train, and it's like what can I do to get back on it? And it's so funny because you're like, "Oh, I've fallen off and I can't, like I'm just down." It's like actually if you did start journaling, that's one of those things that actually would probably initiate you back into your like your
Mhm.
rhythm of self-improvement.
Isn't that weird? If you're just in your head, you could just ruminate about all the bad stuff and you do it on autopilot. It's like a habit, if you will, of negative thoughts that just on
Yeah.
cycle. But then when you start putting like pen to paper, you have to have some intentionality about what you're writing.
Mhm.
And then like you start writing it and like, yeah, sure, you could vent about the bad stuff, but then you're also kind of like, all right, wait, I'm writing my own story right now. Let's get to the happy part. Let me start writing like what's gonna happen next chapter. Get
Right.
to the good stuff, and then I mean that's humans. Like we have this amazing capacity to look into the future and to want to change the outcomes that are coming. And we're able to do when we journal, we're literally just writing the next chapter of our book. But when we just get stuck in your head, it's just like a ruminating cycle where you're just stuck in the same little monologue of sadness.
And that's it's funny you talk about like how we plan for the future, and like that's like the human superpower is that we can think ahead like multiple steps.
Yeah.
And I think it's that variability that leads to like if we didn't have that, we wouldn't have anxiety because like Soren Kierkegaard is one of my favorite philosophers. He talks a lot about it. It's called angst. What causes angst but a desire for a specific outcome in some future that you haven't lived yet? So it's
Pretty much.
it's it's like
Can you hear my
living.
neighbors playing music, by the way?
No, not at all.
Okay, good, good.
Yeah,
Sorry.
you're good.
Go on.
You're
Go
good.
on about your capacity to be a human being.
Yeah, it's just I find it interesting. That is, it's like one of those things that make humans higher animals, like elevated creatures, like because we can plan and rationalize the future. But it's that same thing that also so many times causes us to shoot ourselves in the foot. So it's one of those like superpowers that like you have to know how to control it. You have to know how to like guide that. It's like raw energy. If you can guide it in the right direction, it can it's like your head's an echo chamber. Whatever sounds you're throwing around in your head, it's just going to keep echoing over and over and over again. So that's why it's so important. And like one of my habits is every single morning freaking play motivational speeches, dude. It will change your
Really?
life. Dude.
I
On my
love
way to
it. Love it.
class, dude. Yeah, that guy. Like
The
he
march of
has
the penguins.
there's
No,
not that
no,
happy
that one. No.
happy feet.
Oh, I want Morgan Freeman to narrate Happy Feet. That's a different one.
That'd be
I'm down
good.
for that. But yeah, no, I mean, I absolutely agree. But please go on. What's an example of it's not music? You're specifically listening to motivational speeches, like our boy David Goggins.
Right. David
Yeah,
Goggins has some. I mean, it's just to get myself, I guess, in the mode of having my echo chamber be a positive one for the day. I just think it's super important. Like I'm capable of doing it now because I've sat and I think for at least 90 days now, at least, like I've done this enough so that like when I wake up in the morning, it's less. I don't wake up very happy. Like I don't know if it's because I don't sleep good or what. I wake up pretty grumpy most of the time. Um, so I don't like waking up because I think it's because I love sleeping so much.
I feel that.
Um, I really love sleeping. It's good, man. But when I do get up, it's like my tendency is to be like why do I have to like, and so like doing that particular habit makes it so that what is echoing in my brain for the day is already it's already positive, and then like it's such a cascade effect. Like it's infectious, and I'm able to give people around me more love, and that's huge, man, because when you give people around you more love, it it sends like ripples through this reality where like it's just you're a small piece of it, but it starts changing things around you, and people get more positive experiences. You can make one other person smile in your day. You never know how much of an impact that can have on this world. Just one person smiling that can make that person go home and write a book that ultimately like changes everything for a lot of people, like it's crazy.
It is. It is really crazy. It's impressive that we have that power. And as Uncle Ben once said, with great power comes great responsibility.
Right.
Whether that's the power in your mind to be able to direct, like you said, that echo chamber, we have the superpower as humans to determine the fate of our tomorrow within our locus of control, I suppose. But
Right.
doing little things, like you said, good deeds, that actually is almost like giving someone a little oomph, a little push in the right direction. Most
Yeah, the whole
definitely.
domino effect. Like,
Yeah, most definitely.
because you have, this is my philosophy, but I think we have equal opportunities to experience good and bad things. So if you give somebody that nudge towards the good direction, towards the positive vibes, dude, you just change somebody's entire day. Like that's all it takes, man. Just a little gentle, like, how you doing? Hey, you looking great today, man. Keep it
It's
up.
totally possible. I mean, I've experienced it myself, having people with like just an incredible positive attitude. And, especially if they're like facing adversity or something, you're like, what?
Shout out to the guy at that kava bar, man, for when Danny knocked over the entire speaker. He said, "Hey, man, it's cool. It's
Hey,
all
it's
right."
cool, dude.
And it kept everybody in the kava bar who was
Comfortable
probably,
and like
yeah.
relaxed and
Because I
yeah.
guarantee you, like all those young kids that were there, they're like, "Oh my god, like you just get this guy out of here. He's just ruining the vibe. We're all just trying to drink our kava and chill. And this guy's here, like, no, he's just like, hey man, it's all right. It's a kava bar. Y'all chill. Like, hey man, come on, get up. Like, dude,
Yeah. And
immediately,
saying
like,
something like, I'm just glad you're not hurt, versus like, no, you're ruining the equipment,
yeah, yeah.
I like you said, the compassion, it costs nothing, man.
He was humanizing. Like he
Yeah.
humanized Danny. He didn't say, "Oh man, you knocked over my
You
equipment." It was like, "Hey
klutz.
bro, are you okay?" Like
Right, right.
that's huge.
Yeah, that was really nice of him. And I agree. I noticed that the way he spoke to Danny about that situation, it almost allowed people to kind of make light of it and kind of like it felt like they were laughing with him
Yeah.
versus at him. You know what I mean?
But that could have
They
I can
even
see,
commented. They were like, "Why is that speaker so close to the ping pong table,
yeah.
anyways?" Like,
Isn't it interesting? I feel like that gets me into this whole like groupthink type of thing. So I guarantee you, had the bartender reacted and said, "Dude, what the heck
oh,
are
of
you doing,
course,
man?" Like then other people
it's a
around
little
would have been like,
ripple
"Yeah,
of
man,
negative
what are you
energy.
doing?" And then everybody would be like, "Yeah, get him out of here, get him
Then there's
out
like
of
a
here."
mob. We all got pitchforks.
Yeah, like like it's just really interesting
That
how
easy.
like our energy can impact all of those people around us. Like and and that's another cool thing too. And I've been experimenting with this, like deepening my resolve for being who I am, like in a space
Monkey.
with a group of people. Monkey,
I am monkey.
monkey. Um, like
Oh, that's
deepening my
the turtle from
monkey. You
what's it
seen the
called?
you seen the
Kung Fu
YouTube
Panda.
video? Yeah.
It's like he's like monkey.
And he says it like 5 times. Like the edits are hilarious because
That's a
he just
cartoon
keeps
though,
looking
right?
at him.
It's not
That's Kung Fu Panda, bro.
no, but it's not the
It's the
movie. I
turtle.
think it's like the TV show because I've never seen that in the movies.
I don't think I did either. I
I
think it
think
must have, unless it
it's
was
like a
like Kung
TV
Fu Panda
show.
3 or something. Just like they have like freaking
Monkey.
107 Dalmatians now. It's like it just
What?
keeps going up.
There's more
No, you know how
Dalmatians.
there's like 102 Dalmatians. There's like an edition. They just keep and like there's like another Little Mermaid. They've run out of ideas, is what I'm trying to say, bro.
No,
They
they
just keep
didn't. They didn't run out. They just know that it's such an easy cash grab to remake
yeah.
something. I think the only thing that it works with.
No, I think they've run out of ideas. I'm gonna be frank with you, bro. I
What?
think modern society people
Oh, you think
like
there's no
like
like good,
movie.
bro? Moana. That's new.
It was
That's
decent
pretty
at
good.
best.
You're
Yeah.
welcome.
It was too politicized for my liking.
Well,
I
actually, you know
don't.
what? Moana probably isn't even original content either. It's probably like Hawaiian like
Yeah,
tradition.
they stole it from like Hawaiian culture.
Yeah, yeah, you're right. You're right.
It's I just all of it like if stuff does come out, like nowadays 9 times out of 10, it's not about like deep values, speaking to the human psyche, speaking to the human experience. It's all like political garbage. It's like I don't care for that.
I think it's
Like
interesting that they. I mean, we're kind of talking about Sorry about that noise. We're kind of talking about Disney. It almost seems like, but um, Disney in particular, I feel like they stopped making movies for kids, and now they're just doing it for like social movements
yeah.
of like, you know what I mean? There's like political
Yeah.
stuff.
It sucks, man, because it ruins childhood and it's not like it's presented as a children's movie, but what it actually gives you is like a narrative that they're trying to feed you. And it's really it sucks because that's not what childhood's about. Childhood is about like
Yeah,
exploration
like the
and
narrative I
finding
hate the most is talking animals, bro. I can't believe they're making Lion King again. Stop making the animals talk, dog. All right, I'm
that's
totally
different.
kidding. Let's just
That's
I'm
different,
just
bro.
being like satirical at this point. So,
That's
but
about dominance hierarchies.
yeah, speaking of hierarchy, the book does talk about action hierarchies with our sub actions, which lead to the complex behaviors. And what we kind of went on a tangent there, we were essentially talking about all the little nuances when it comes to social cues. It comes to being a positive influence, being compassionate. Those are also little ripples that we feel on the outside, external psychology, right? How we influence one another's social circle, whether it just be a couple people fooling around in a bar or something, and then all getting along despite being strangers, or within your own family, and actually like getting being polite with one another and compassionate and loving. Those are little sub actions within a conversation that can actually influence the, I want to say, mood, for lack of a better word, the emotions of the people involved. And on a more introverted level, we have to understand that we have that same power within ourselves, not to separate the mind from the soul or whatever, like your two personas, but it's almost like there's who you are today, what you've been doing since yesterday and before, and what you want to do tomorrow in the future. It's all still you on this timeline. We're just time travelers, but we have the awareness to recognize that what we want to be tomorrow can be different than who we were yesterday. And it determines, I could have said that way better. It's determined by what we do today. You know what I'm saying?
I want to touch on something you were saying earlier because that's an interesting point. You're talking about how like we can impact our the the psychosocial environment around us, like
Mhm.
the people around us. We can have an impact on the group psychology per se, which
Sure.
gets me into an interesting topic, which is that this is actually something that Walden University discussed. Groups produce conformity. So when we are in a group, we have a stronger tendency to conform to the norms of that group that we're in. So if we
Okay.
see certain behaviors that the group is doing, let's say everybody's playing ping pong, we are more likely to want to cheer on that behavior. We're more likely to want to participate in that behavior. We're more likely to want to talk about things related to ping pong, like, oh, dude, I used to play ping pong, or like I played tennis, so it's kind of like ping pong, like stuff like that. Like you're more likely if you're in a group of people doing certain things. That's a stupid example, but like you're more likely to conform to what that group is doing. That's group psychology, and it's just interesting to know. And I, I think that's why it's super important, like to ensure that like what role are you playing in the group psychology because you could turn the tide. and make it so that what would have, like, this is like, we used to think about this in undergrad. What is it that makes a party fun? Like, how
What
can
is
we make
fun?
a party lit? Like, actually lit. It's when the vibes are good and like everybody's smiling, people are having a good time. And you've been to those parties where like, people, like, there's been a fight and like people are like grumpy, like it started off good and then like there was one fight that broke out and then all of a sudden the mood changes in the party. You know what I'm talking about? Like,
We're
isn't
all
it
just monkeys,
interesting?
dude.
Dude, but you know what I'm talking about, bro. Yeah.
That's what happens. We all just get all monkey mode.
Yeah. But isn't it interesting how like that whole group conformity thing, like, it can have a huge impact on
Sure.
like your experience around other human beings.
Yeah.
And
In
I think
fact,
that's
and relating it to the physical activity and habit formation in this chapter, think about personal trainers and like workout groups, whether you're doing Zumba, cycling, or like boxing, whatever. I think it's the merger of these two things that you're talking about. It's our potential as humans to connect and to have this vibrant social interaction that influences one another, whether it be positively or negatively. And then
right.
using that power combined with the power of self monitoring and goal setting on an independent level, and then just combining them till you have this Power Ranger unity of drive towards a goal, and it's really interesting it's beautiful to see, how the once you get enough people that have the same goal, and in your example, trying to have a lit party, whatever, that's the goal, right? If everyone's on the same page of trying to enjoy themselves, it's much easier on the individual level to enjoy yourself. And it's must be subconscious to an extent too, but it's I'm sure you could observe it. I
And
know
that's
I
why
have.
yesterday, like, I saw, it's funny. This is group psychology. Like, I saw everybody having a good time in that pit. Like, for the most part, there's no butt
The
heads that
little
are
the
like
little dance
punching
circle.
people. Yeah, dude, like, we're all having a good time. And then there's one guy who wants to just kick everybody.
Yeah, that was really weird.
So,
Like it was
like,
everyone was clearly like having fun, jumping around, enjoying the party, and then
there's one guy that's ruining the vibe. That's all it takes.
I mean it's really interesting though, because like the live music we were listening to, the artists there, they definitely encouraged dancing and definitely encouraged, being lively
Yeah,
and enjoying the music. But by no means did it warrant, violence.
right.
And like you said, it's almost like there's like a little you called it a unspoken, you know, truce, an unspoken pact amongst the group that we're all gonna like have fun, dance around roughhouse in this celebration of listening to live music. Um, Clearly, it wasn't jazz, but we're,
You like
we're
jazz?
you like jazz,
Yeah.
and yeah, when you saw an outlier like that, um, it really threw it off,
Yeah.
which it has kind of two interesting points, which is our ability to recognize when something's not fitting in, but also the power of one person going against the grain and how quickly it turns heads, that could be used for good or evil, really.
Right. But I guess in that case, like, me, bro. I love being an individual. Like, I love like standing for like something that is going against the grain. That's just fun to me. That's just kind of how my brain's built. But I like to do it in a way that, like, it's thought provoking. It doesn't necessarily bring harm to others. So like, you see a guy like that like actually bringing harm to others, I'm like, dude, I don't like that. I don't like what you're
Well,
doing. You're
sure, sure, yeah.
you're
I'm
ruining
all
people's vibe.
for being independent, doing what you like to do, doing what you think is right. Um, I have no problem going against the grain or whatever everyone else in the room thinks. But like, there's a line drawn when you start like hurting people, and
Right.
then it's like, hey,
But
how
that's
about
that's like,
you don't?
and that's literally like, that's what the mosh pit like pact is. Like, it's all of us who are going against the grain, a bunch of people who like to go against the grain, coming into the same room to be in the same space to celebrate. What is the genre built around? But going against the grain, being rebellious,
I think we need to give
saying,
some context here. Danny boy here, Daniel, brought me to my first rock. You could
heavy,
give me a
just
better
hard metal,
description of the
man.
genre. Yeah,
Yeah, so I took him to yeah,
I felt very out of
hard,
place. I
hard
went in. I
rock.
was wearing a Hawaiian shirt. Like I'm just like a little colorful boy, and everyone else in there just wearing black.
Yeah, that's so funny that my screen just
Yeah,
went
your
black when I said
camera.
that. But yeah, I took him to a deathcore concert yesterday, along with my buddy Danny, and we just had a good time. And deathcore in particular is a genre that's it's very aggressive. It's a lot of raw energy in there, a lot of great lifting potential. If you want to go lift heavy, I would highly
Speaking
encourage
of
you to
gym,
listen to some deathcore, dude. You're gonna PR immediately. It's great. It's good stuff.
I will say
Um,
it definitely, as someone that was new to that whole genre, it did two things. Immediately spiked my testosterone levels without the need of any caffeine, any workout, any pre-workout supplements.
right.
And it also made me very aware that even though the music sounds aggressive, doesn't mean the people are, because there were
Right.
like majority of the people there were so nice. I was shocked. I thought everyone was gonna be like throwing haymakers at each other and just like
r-
bleeding. No,
Right.
everyone was super polite. Like, and if I ever saw someone trip or fall, there were 4 people picking them up,
Right.
and it was very wholesome. I enjoyed that thoroughly. Pleasantly surprised by that experience. I'd be down to go again for sure.
And
I don't know how involved I would be in the moshing, but
I gotta take you to an August Burns Red concert. Their motto, and this sums it all up: angry music for happy people.
angry music for happy people.
Specific, I guess that tapers more towards the August Burns Red style, because August Burns Red is like a Christian heavy metal band. So a lot of the
Oh,
followers of
really?
August Burns Red, yeah, what we listened to yesterday,
Jesus,
it's amazing.
the man on the cross.
They're more metalcore. So metalcore is like, it's like white metal. What we went to yesterday was more on like the blacker side of metal. It's more like heavy. The themes that they go into are a little bit more dark.
You
So the
definitely have
people,
done like some kind of synopsis of the rock metal music genres,
yeah,
because
like
you speak it very, very fluently with all the titles that you give.
yeah. So like I told you, like my undergrad experience, I got to, and dude, this stuck with me because like even before I was in freaking Stetson and I studied heavy metal for like a semester, like I had looked into all these different subgenres and I listened to each one and I was like, as a younger kid from like the age of like 12 to 18, I was like, what is it that gives this subgenre more energy than this one? Like there's grindcore, there's deathcore, there's progressive, there's hair metal, there's power metal, there's screamo, there's hard rock, there's fucking it just keeps going. And there's, dude, they even have like pirate metal. Like it's whatever, like it's that's what I love about the genre. It represents like individuality, and it's funny because like an individual minded culture breaks off into individual groups. That's why there's like 200 plus subgenres of metal, because metal itself represents like going against the grain. It represents going against society. And I think I don't know if that's played into my psyche so loud that like now it's like
Loud.
it's who I am. Because like as a kid, I listened to metal so much, it must have really just lodged itself into my subconscious. And now I'm
Dude, I
like,
don't doubt it. You know how I am with EDM. It's just
yeah,
it's in there.
right,
Yeah, I would argue that almost every music is a form of individuality, but I can't say that because like you look at pop music and like the music that just it goes viral on TikTok, and there's I feel like there's no individuality with it. It's just like algorithm fed what would make a good 30-second audio clip. And
yeah.
then the song itself is sucks, but there's like one little chorus part where it's like, yo, that's a meme song. I heard that song in the meme. El
Yeah, and
meme.
then everybody posts this. That's what also makes metal unique, is because metal doesn't really go viral. It's not something that they'll play on the radio. It's repugnant to the radio.
It's
Like you imagine
repugnant.
going on to station 101.5 and they're being like like they're not going to do that. They're not going to. That's I think that's the other reason why metal can like hold its position as a like rebellious, as a unique, like it's almost like in order for you to be like a rebellious type of person, you have to be in the minority. Like minority is almost this is a big idea here, but I think minority, part of it represents rebellion. Rebellion is represented by minority because in order for you to be rebellious, there has to be a majority for you to fight against.
You're gonna be really disappointed when you find out that like all the hipsters thought the same thing, and then hipsters became mainstream,
And
and
that's
now
why
they're
hipsters are like made fun of now. It's just funny. And that's why like what was once like counterculture, like the trap house,
it gains trends,
yeah, it
and
gains
then it
trends and
becomes
then becomes
the
mainstream and then
majority.
it's like
Not in
and
every
then
case, but it can.
and then those people settle in and they become complacent. Like it's like a rising Conor McGregor. You think of a rising Conor McGregor. This guy, he was his own individual, lanky, long arms, walking in. Hey, you want to fight with me? Like he's just a cocky butthead. And
I'm
then
pretty sure
what
he still
happens?
is.
Like he makes it big. He reaches the top, and then he becomes complacent, and then he gets his ass kicked by Nurmagomedov, and that's it. So it's like seriously, every genre is like that. They become
Connor's
gimmicky.
watching this like, are you serious? You saying I don't train like all the time? I know he's retired now, but
He's
even when he
done.
lost that fight, I doubt he was complacent to the point where he wasn't training.
Not. I'm not gonna say totally complacent, but like there's something.
I
There's
understand though. He
he
definitely was
became like
like,
a mainstream,
I'm
like a
so
household.
popular that I can just fight, lose, and I still make a fat purse
Yeah,
profit.
I know he wasn't training as hard as
Yeah.
Khabib,
No, for
bro.
sure.
Like
He
I
lost his
watched Khabib's videos and like Khabib was so
wrestling
like a very
bears.
humble, like he's just a humble like.
I
Well,
love
fight.
MMA.
I fight to kill. What do you do?
I like how he actually retired too, didn't he? And he's like,
Yeah,
my mom doesn't want me to fight anymore, so I stopped.
I love what a guy.
Yeah.
Super dry Russian humor. It's really good.
Yeah, no, yeah, their humor's hilarious.
Yeah, Eastern Europeans
Yeah,
love them.
yeah. Very nice family people,
Yeah,
but they also wrestle bears. It's like, wait, what?
they train bears too, and they'll have them like walk up on two legs. It's hilarious to see some of the videos of like Russians literally just like playing with a freaking 10-foot tall bear, and you're just like, what are you doing, bro?
Yeah, it's hilarious. Well, I'll tell you what. Two things I'm gonna start doing is I'm gonna try to hack my brain with the music I listen to in the gym. I'll start adding some form of metal, and hopefully I can be as big as you one day. And then the other thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna add a morning routine workout, but I'm not gonna do cardio because I've been doing that too much. And cardio is a great way to start your day.
It is, yeah.
It's so refreshing. But what I want to do is I'm gonna add some kind of workout, and I have to make it easy though, or else it's never gonna become a habit. But what if I wake up, put my alarm on the floor, and to turn it off, I have to do like 5 push-ups? Easy, right? That's nothing. I could do that. Half asleep.
Yeah.
So,
I like that. I like that a
right?
lot.
Like I'm like just super easy.
And
Just
you can
get on the
progress
floor.
that though. You can even
Well,
progress that.
of course, but I don't tell my brain that because in order for it to be a habit, I have to make it like so easy that I could do it in its sleep or
Right.
half asleep in this case. But yeah, don't tell my brain. But I
I
do
won't tell
plan
your
on
brain.
increasing it.
There are some really cool progressions. I love the idea that you just threw out though.
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
in order for you to turn off your alarm, you make that a conditional.
Mm-hmm.
And in order for you to turn off your alarm, you gotta earn it, boy.
And then every time, like, imagine I have a bad habit of like I'll set 4 alarms because I typically tend to snooze some. There's no more snoozing there, bro. You do 5 push-ups and you snooze. That means that you got to do 5 more push-ups when that alarm goes off.
Dude. Now the key is self-accountability in those
Right.
cases. Like
Right.
only you will know. And here's what's funny, bro. I think we actually, when we don't follow through on our promises to ourselves, like in a case like this, where let's say you've told yourself you can do those 5 push-ups, just like I tell myself nowadays after my freaking oral debridement that I had to get because I didn't floss my teeth. Now, yeah, you laugh at me, bro. Go ahead. But like now I feel mad at myself when I don't brush at least twice a day and floss.
Oh yeah, you got to brush, bro.
Like
Gotta brush them teeth.
for sure. just like, but like our brain has a way of like almost like holding us accountable. Where like even if you've like skipped it for that day and you're like, nobody's gonna know. It's just me. What happens is psychologically speaking, you're gonna get what's called cognitive dissonance,
Mm,
and cognitive dissonance actually builds up over time. And
mm,
when you experience more of that cognitive dissonance, what you get is an increase in negative emotion and neuroticism, and that's not a fun feeling. And when you sit and let's say you had a very like you had a moment where you had to slow down a little bit, it'll start to like bubble up. So if you take time to be a little bit mindful, you'll sit there and be like, why is it that I'm feeling slightly more like in my head today, a little bit more like edgy, a little bit like not in the game? Well, part of that might be from cognitive dissonance because you told yourself that you're going to follow through on this habit, and you really want to, like, deep in your psyche, every single day you want to wake up and do those 5 push-ups like before you push your alarm, but you've been skipping it. And like your psyche knows, bro. It's like you lied to yourself and you just keep going and you're like, yeah, my day's gonna be fine. But it's like, nah, man, that
you
actually
know,
even your brain, your
yeah.
like subconscious it's gonna bubble up to the surface, and you're gonna feel it later with some cognitive dissonance. You're gonna feel a little bit more on edge. So that's a really interesting concept.
I don't know if I'm strong enough to make deathcore rock music my alarm, but that's the next step.
I'll, I'll send you some real
You
great
got
stuff to
both
wake
of
up
it
to,
going
bro.
on. It's wah, ah, 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 and I'm just like, ah. At that point, like after doing that for a year, you're not doing push-ups anymore. You're just pushing the world down.
Dude.
You just get that strong.
Yeah. Oh my god.
Hell yeah.
Bro,
All right. Well,
some of
hey,
the
I'll tell you
pumps I've
what.
gotten.
I'm gonna try to do that. Baby steps for the next 3 days.
I
Baby
like it.
steps. Baby steps. Okay. Even if I sleep in because it's the weekend, I
Oh
still
yeah,
have
it's
an
the
alarm.
weekend.
I still have an alarm. I do. I know it doesn't feel like it.
That's
I
weird.
thought it was Monday today at work. It's that long of a week. I
It's
just
just
quit
been,
the
and my
weekend.
schedule's been messed up since Ian rolled through and destroyed Fort Myers.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
like everything's just felt weird. But
Yeah.
like they canceled our oral examination, so I feel like I can actually pass my practicals now.
Everything happens for a reason. Although, obviously no one would ever wish for a hurricane.
No,
And
yeah. But it brought, there's always fruits that come from the muck and mire, the mud.
the
Uh,
muck.
dude, literal muck. Like when I went through and cleaned that house that got freaking
That was really
blown
nice of
up,
you.
dude,
Yeah.
there was
How many
so,
houses did you volunteer to
dude, that day that I went
the
out
whole
there,
neighborhood?
we hit like 4 houses.
And I
Yeah,
know that's no easy task because it's like 4 houses of like complete destruction that you
I,
had to.
dude, 2K calories for that day, like 2K active. Like that's
Yeah,
not
yeah,
including like basal metabolic, right? So
sure,
for the
sure.
day, I was approaching like 3,800 calories, which is almost like 4,000 calories for like a human being to burn that much. Let me put this into context for you. There's 3,500 calories in 1 pound. So from one day of like just cleaning houses, I basically, like, if I didn't take in any food, I would have lost a pound, more than a pound actually. Like it's just wild. 3,500 calories in a pound. I burned almost 4K. So just from like shoveling out mud and like moving all these crazy stuff.
So
Freaking
forget all the habits that we talked about. All you need to do to lose a pound a day is just have a hurricane hit your state and then just recover, rebuild the city, and you're on your way to losing weight.
yeah.
That fat's just gonna shut off.
Yeah, buddy.
Yeah.
That's what I was saying. Like there is a positive in it. Like a lot of it's just beautiful to see like how the people do come together though.
Yeah.
And
I will
like
say that's why like states that suffer from annual natural disasters, obviously like my heart goes out to everyone affected and it really is sad, but
yeah.
I think the community strength is higher, and it's almost inevitable. Like there's a big sense of protecting over one another's like neighbors and like a sense of wanting to rebuild and recover together, whereas other states that don't really face natural disasters or countries that might not experience that as much, it's like it's less, it's like a workshop for camaraderie and like teamwork that no one
Right.
asked for, but the best way to recover from it is through teamwork and compassion and camaraderie.
It gives a
You know?
common a common purpose to everybody,
Yeah,
and
yeah. It aligns
it's
everyone's goal for like a little
experiencing
bit.
something together too.
Yeah,
Like
sure.
things that aren't tested, things that don't go through adversity, don't end up stronger. So I mean, the same thing ends up.
Sure,
That's how it
sure.
is in a community. A
Dude,
community
remember
that.
like one of our first podcasts, we were talking about the windy tree
Oh
and
yeah,
like trees that endured intense weather typically have a stronger root system, whereas
right.
trees that are grown in like a little greenhouse dome, you just like blow on them and they're like, oh no. Yeah, exactly. So, but hey, this has been great.
This was good. Very
I
good.
think we're reaching a good point here. And we actually went through a lot of content regarding to physical activity. I think the best thing we can do now is kind of brainstorm on some research in how habits can be formed on the sub actions and like the amount of control that we have over that. But I think we touched on some great stuff, which is really, a lot of what we've talked about with habits really stems down to like awareness and your ability to monitor yourself in order to kind of have some foundation on where you're at and then figure out where you want to go. And using those cues, as we've talked about over and over again, is key, dude. That's your little
Yep.
That's your little incentive. That's your carrot on the stick.
And cues, and also setting realistic expectations for the experience of discomfort, knowing that as you create the habit, there will be periods of like, man, I really don't want to do this. Like, but those are the very days where if you do push, the light will be at the end of the tunnel. And that's ultimately where like the habit is going to become, you're laying down strong bricks for that
Yeah,
habit to
yeah.
last in the storm.
Like you need self-control in order to stay strong and build the foundation. But the stronger your foundation is, the easier it'll be to have self-control.
Right.
It just kind of, it's a nice little positive feedback loop for sure. Well then, on that note, this has been Naturing Our Nurture, a podcast namely to improve ourselves.
Nurturing our nature.
Yeah, well, that's it. That's the one. It's really simple as that. Biology, psychology, philosophy, all the above. Today we've done a psychological little breakdown, physical habits, and how that was a contradictive statement. But now we realize how possible it is to have habits in your physical activity. Just got to be smart and intentional about it, and get some gains, bro. Go get your creatine. Go get your pre-workout. Go find a hurricane. Go pick up some trees. Go do some push-ups. Listen to heavy metal. That's it. You don't have to buy my program. Just do those things, and you'll be shedding weight, dude.
Nice. Oh, somebody just joined us at the last minute when we're about to sign off.
Welcome. Goodbye.
They literally just left too. That's funny.
They're like, oh, this is weird. It's just me in here.
All right. Well,
Thanks everyone for
Nurture
watching.
and Nature signing off.